On question one, they're going to start you off with an equation here, and they're on part A going to want you to find the simplified form of this thing they refer to here as the difference quotient. That's this equation here. So the difference quotient is this f of x plus h minus f of x all over h equation. So to do the first part of this, part A, we start by taking f of x. We're really trying to find out the f of x piece, an equation for that, and the f of x plus h piece. The f of x piece is always given to us for free. That's the equation that they started us with. That's that 5 minus 2x cubed over here. The real work will always begin when we need to go find this f of x plus h piece. So f of x plus h, function notation works the exact same no matter what. Whenever I replace x with right here, I always replace x with that in the equation. And so even though it's not a number, it works the same way, this x plus h. It's just far less fun. And so what we're going to be doing is everywhere we see an x inside that original equation, we're going to plug in the quantity x plus h. So we're going to get 5 times 2, and instead of x, we're now plugging in place of x the x plus h right there. So on the f of x plus h piece, you then need to go ahead and expand this thing out. So this is going to be 5 minus 2, and then instead of x plus h cubed, you're going to want to rewrite this as x plus h times x plus h times x plus h. Now, again, we just keep expanding this. So we keep the 5 minus 2, and I'm just going to focus in on these first two chunks to begin here. And we're going to do kind of your standard, a lot of people refer to it as FOIL. It's your distribution process. So we're going to distribute these guys to each other. So we do x times x is going to get me x squared. X times h is going to get me a plus xh. Done with that piece. On to the next. I'm going to get another plus xh, and then h times h is going to get me h squared. And then we'll just drop down that other x plus h for the time being. Before you move on, you want to go ahead and combine those like terms in the middle there. You'll always have those like terms. So this is going to be x squared plus 2xh plus h squared, and all of that times x plus h. And now we need to go ahead and multiply these two parentheses together with each other. So again, we're still doing distribution right now. We just need to take each one of these pieces and make sure we multiply it by both pieces over here. So we get 5 minus 2, and then starting my multiplication, I get x squared times x is going to get me x cubed. X squared times h is going to get me a plus x squared h. Done with the x squared, on to the 2xh. So 2xh times x, the x's go together, so x times x is going to get me x squared, and then h. And then I get 2xh times h, so just like with the x's, the h's come together now. H times h gets me h squared. And then down here, I'm done with that piece, onto the h squared. I get h squared times x is going to get me xh squared, and h squared times h at the end there is going to get me a plus h cubed. And then from there, as if that wasn't fun enough, we're going to combine some like terms. So minus 2, and we'll get x cubed. And then these pieces should always come together, so that it's going to give me 3x squared h's. Plus, and then I have 2xh squareds and a single xh squared, so just like the previous one, we'll get 3 of these xh squared pieces, and then h cubed is by itself down at the end. And the last move here is going to be to take this negative 2 into each one of these pieces. So we end up with 5 minus, and then 2 times x cubed gets us negative 2x cubed. Negative 2 times 3x squared h gets us negative 6x squared h. Negative 2 times 3xh is going to get us negative 6xh squared. And then negative 2 times h cubed is going to get us negative 2h cubed. And that is what our f of x plus h is equal to. So we did all that work for this equation right here. But the real thing that we've been trying to do through this whole process is to plug everybody into this difference quotient back at the beginning here. And so that's what we'll do, is we'll go ahead and we'll start plugging everybody into our difference quotient right now. That was the real kicker here. So f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. The f of x plus h piece is this huge equation here that we just found. So that would be 5 minus 2x cubed minus 6x squared h minus 6xh squared, and then minus 2h cubed. And then we do minus, and the critical step on this is that f of x needs to be in parentheses. So f of x was what they started us with, but it's always minus parentheses 5 minus 2x cubed, and that is all over h. The next move is to simplify this down. So we're just going to distribute this negative sign back into both of those pieces. So all this junk up in the front has to keep coming along for the ride. So you just got to keep track of it here. Minus 2h cubed. And then distributing the negative sign, we get minus 5 and then plus 2x cubed all over h. If you have done this right at this stage in the process, this entire back piece here that you just threw the negative through should cancel out with stuff up in the front. If this does not happen, stop. You fucked up. You screwed up your algebra someplace before this, but either way, you're not on the right track, so go figure out where that algebra got a little sideways on you. In this situation, we've got a positive 5 up front and a negative 5, and we've got a negative 2x cubed and a positive 2x cubed. So we know we're on the right track right now. So cleaning it up, we end up with negative 6x squared h minus 6xh squared minus 2h cubed, and all of that is over h. The next thing that will absolutely happen every single time you do this is you'll notice that there is an h in each of these chunks here. So we can pull a single h out of everybody, leaving us with negative 6x squared and then minus 6x, and we took one of the h's, so one's left over, and then minus 2, and we took one of the h's, and 2 are left over. And that's all over h. And because that always happens, this cancellation of the h on top and the h on bottom will always happen. And out of there, you'll be left with something that's no longer a fraction. So negative 6x squared minus 6xh minus 2h squared. That's always what you're going to be looking to do. So that's part A here. And part B on this is just going to have us, it's giving us this table of values right here. And what they're doing is they're keeping that x value the same, and then they're changing up the h value. So they're having us plug in the x value and the h value into this equation to get out the different answers here. So the first time through, we'll do negative 6, and then we're plugging in x, so that's going to be 5 squared minus 6 times 5, and then instead of h in the equation right there, we're going to plug in 2 on this first one, and then minus 2, and then plugging in for that h right there, the 2 that they just gave us, 2 squared, and we'll get out an answer for that. And then we'll just keep going through this, and the only thing that changes, you'll notice all of those are 5s right there. So the only thing that's going to change is that position of the 2. So this one will be negative 6. The 5 squared will stay there. This will be 6. The 5 will stay there, but instead of a 2, we're now plugging in 1 for h, so minus 2, and again, plug in the 1, and then you'll just do it negative 6. 5 stays the same, minus 6, 5 stays the same, and then the new h is 0.1, and then minus 2, and then 0.1 squared, and then do it one last time here. So negative 6 times 5 squared minus 6 times 5, and then changing that out, that'll be 0.01, and then minus 2, and then times 0.01 squared. So opening up the calculator to see what this all looks like. Move this over to the side. So I'm going to start at the top here, and I'm just going to type it in, negative 6 parentheses 5, close it, square it, minus 6 times 5 times 2, and then minus 2 times 2 squared. And so then we hit enter on that, and we get out of there the negative 218. The red marks on here, just so you know, is the guy, whoever this was, got it wrong, but the right answer that they display is negative 218. The quickest way to get these done is just to hit second enter right now, and it's going to grab that line from up above. And so this time, that h is all that changed, so I just want to type a 1 on top of the 2 right there, and I want to type a 1 on top of my 2 right there. I hit enter. That gets me the negative 182, which is the second answer. I hit second enter again, and this time I'm doing 0.1, so I just need to insert a decimal in front of that 1. So if I scroll on top of the 1 and hit second insert and then just type a decimal, it's going to insert that decimal. Do the same thing here, second insert, type my decimal, hit enter, that gets me this third answer, and then we just do second enter again, pull this up, and now I just need to add the 0 in. So I come on over, I do second insert 0, and then over here on this one, on top of the 1, second insert 0, hit enter, and there's our final answer for this problem.